All right. We have Cherie as our governance officer, note taker, and all around good person who made me a coffee. Okay. Welcome, Nicole. This is it's 2.1. We'll make it 2.2 just so you're up with the play on the agenda. So this is our new lease, Hauraki Aero Club Incorporated. Nicole, the floor is yours.
Yes, I'll just take the report as being read. As you say, it's a new lease for the Aero Club for a further 15 years.
Yeah.
And I can answer any questions.
I knew you'd say that. Good report writer. Yes, any questions of the report writer, please?
So new lease, but it's renewing. Oh no, because it's already had its renewal period, so it's
Yeah, it expires in June, so we're just getting ahead of the game and giving them,
right.
the reports.
And it's got all the extra bits in there, the changes that were made when Sir Keith Park arrived, and when the plane arrived.
Yes, it's got the variation that was agreed to for the hurricane.
I'd like to move. Sorry.
Sorry. Thank you.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Through the chair.
Hi, Rob.
I am going to ask really quickly, but I think you'll be able to answer. So the lease is $350 a year, which always seems to me for all these council-owned buildings extremely low.
Mm.
My understanding is that it's set through policy.
That's correct.
And so you're basically doing your job based on policy.
That's correct. Yes, there's eligibility criteria.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So there's no movement or wiggle room there. You're setting that fee based on policy that's done. So policy is. Am I correct in thinking that the policy is under review at the moment?
The policy is due for review. It sort of came up for its 3 years at the end of last year. If I'm right, if I remember rightly.
If we were interested in finding out more about that and how the policy is set, as a board, who would we be in contact with?
I'd go through Jenna, through your governance advisor, and get you to raise that.
Yeah, because I'm always interested in the disparity for something like this, which they're getting a big chunk of land and hangar space and all that sort of stuff for peppercorn lease cost, to them. And then, a space like the civic building, for example, which the public can hire is, like $700 a day, and yet that's a community facility. And I'm just, constantly surprised by this.
So the
disparity.
question was?
And that is the question. Are you aware that I'm surprised by the disparity?
I am now.
So
okay, thank you.
Just very quickly, background, you should have been sitting around the council table in about 2006 when they went through this time and time again, and they came through on the basis, and there's a lot of very expensive places over at Whangamata, for example, who are paying $350 plus GST per annum for leasing. And it went through on the basis that there were a lot of places that had council leases like bowling clubs and things like that. And they didn't differentiate between commercial places and bowling clubs, and they just put a random $350 across all the leases. And my concern here is that they're not, and sitting around the table in those days, it was our interpretation that the lease was on a per building basis, like, for example, the Bridge Club down there, $350 for where the Bridge Club is. And it's probably the same for the Squash Club, I don't know. But here, they've got 3 buildings. It's not $350 per building or per block of land. And one block is quite well separate from the main one. Should they not be on a different lease, each one?
No, it's just the entity that it's leased to, and they have those 3 separate areas.
And the fact in the earlier days was on the basis that they were not making a profit or whatever. But in this case, the Hauraki Aero Club actually rents out one of those buildings for quite a healthy return for parking aircraft in it.
Right.
So that there's a commercial component in this, that they're getting the whole thing for $350, and you'll probably find that one aircraft for 1 month is probably that much money, and the rest of the time is free. Sorry,
May I
Councillor
ask a
Sinclair?
follow-up question to the Deputy Chair's question, and that, so at the moment, there's no option for us to increase the amount that we would like them to pay because it's set by different policy. And so can you confirm the next available opportunity for this lease or any other lease that we've signed, because I feel like we've done lots, if the policy was to change early in the new year? So would it be
It would
when
be
this lease comes
adjusted.
up? Oh, okay, it would be adjusted.
Yeah, all those community leases are in accordance with our policy, our leases policy. So,
Excellent.
yeah, if it went up,
So we wouldn't have to wait until this came up for renewal before we were allowed to change the. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
understand. Thank
yeah.
you.
The changes when the policy changes, or if the policy changes. Yes, Councillor Rebel.
Yeah, so the thing that struck me, and I think it's perhaps what Adrian was getting at, is if I as a private person wanted to put a hangar up at the airfield, I would do that, and then I would be paying an annual lease to the council for that hangar. Correct?
correct?
Can you recall approximately how much that would cost me to pay a lease for an ordinary sort of hangar at the airfield?
Are you talking about the new development that they were trying to build?
Yeah, I've just bought a plane and I want to put a.
Yeah, it was maybe even been slightly more. I can't recall exactly how much, but yeah, it could have even been up to 5,000 to 7,000. I can't recall.
Right. So it does seem unfair that, and it does seem unfair that 3 hangars here or 2 hangars here are paying, I don't know, you could argue they're paying $100 a year or $200 a year for the $100 a year for the hangar to be on our council land. And I'm just wondering whether we should be requesting that the lease be changed to a lease related to the club rooms and then separate leases related to the hangars.
Good question, because at the minute it's all under one lease, well, it's actually 4 separate areas as per the location plan, but
Of those 4 areas, the
of those
club
4
rooms
areas, but
and
it's
the
still the one entity that
yeah,
leases
club
them
rooms and
all. So
the aircraft are actually one piece. They just added they've added the Keith Park onto the clubroom one, so that's really one in itself. And then you've got their own hangar, which is immediately next to the ATC. Does ATC pay anything to be on site?
not that I'm aware of. If there's any arrangement, it will be directly between the Aero Club and
Right,
whoever.
and they got a separate building to that. But the big building, the half-round hay barn, is a different kettle of fish. There must be 5 or 6 aircraft in there. So it does concern me that the original concept, the original idea was to give a break to clubs and organisations that had a low income, like bowling clubs or things like that, and they weren't a commercial identity. In other words, they weren't making money out of being a bowling club, or they weren't making money for whatever reason they were on a council reserve. And that's where it's come unstuck with one particular lease in Whangamata, is where your lease is on the sand dunes down by the wharf. And consequently, they have poking machines in there. So they generate an income and they can advertise that they have $1 million view. So the thing is that we need to look at this seriously before it gets out of hand. This has gone on now probably close to 20 years. just rolling over every time these come up for $350. And behoves probably council to pull this in and say, what are we going to do about these leases?
I'm constrained by the policy and I follow that obviously. So it's not anything that I can
I know,
progress.
but you can store that and take that back and say, hey, look, we've got to do something about this. This is not right. It's not a fair go.
Can I just go back to my original point, because you're generalising the whole thing, whereas I'm just looking at what's currently in front of us. And like with the Croquet Club or whatever, the idea of having a club room that provides some sort of community facility that people go and potentially hire it out, and you have your 21st birthday there, if anyone's having a 21st. That seems just a normal thing, like a community hall or whatever it is. But the activity that happens around the hangars is a different prospect. And I would like to know, just in response to my original question, is it possible for this lease, rather than us approving this lease, for this to be split into 3 lease areas that can be therefore treated differently?
In my opinion, I'd say no, because it's all one entity that is leasing this. I mean, you can't have them having, it's just one entity, one lease area. They are, eligible under our policy as a community group. I mean, I can go away and ask more questions, but at this time,
Well,
I'd say
I think what sits behind it for me is what feels fair, and there's an element of unfairness that seems to me around the way we're treating the hangars, given the fact that in terms of other people out there and so on. So I think it would be worthwhile finding out some more information if we can treat this differently.
Thank you, Councillor Rebel. While you may say I was generalising about it, I was trying to give you an overall picture. And it's exactly the same. If you read here, I think they've got 2,075 square metres or something, which they lease. Just happen to have 2 hangars and a building on it, right? But they also pay rates. So it's not a free ride. Correct? They pay rates?
yes, they do.
Yeah, because they're always bitching about the rate.
They'll pay for their own. Yeah, it's their buildings, so they'll pay their own. Yeah, it's just a ground lease.
It's just a ground lease. Do I see a hand up over here somewhere? Yes, Councillor Rodley.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a huge amount of nuance because you have everything from a bridge club that potentially generates no income. You have a place over in Whangamata, like you say, that could generate tens of thousands in income. You have the airfield, which has the potential to generate money, but we can get money for the hangars and things. I suspect that for a long time that 350 has just been, this is too difficult to, there would have to be so many different situations and categories and things that it could just become a big mess. But yeah, is it fair that everyone just gets 350? Emergency services get things for 100, I think, don't they?
It's 100 a year.
Yeah.
So there's just the three main categories.
Commercial and private organisations is market rental, but yeah,
It all started with the Whangamata Supply Saving Club. That's where it all originated, the first thing, and they were heated discussions around the council table in this room, led by then Chief Executive Steve Ruru, and this is their common denominator to come back and say, bang, it's $350 across. But things have changed a lot since then. Yes, Councillor Rodley.
So is it registered that I moved?
No, so what would the board member Rako wants to ask a question to you?
Thanks, Chair. I just want to correct, as you make a comments, the Poke and Ocean Sports Club, they've been taken out almost 10 years ago, so there is no Poke. And also, I'll quite agree with Peter, what he was saying. So is there any chance to you can have some investigate if they can be have 3 different leases? So we don't need to make decision today. Maybe we'll leave it for another meeting.
I can look into it yet again. I'm just stating my opinion is that no, I don't think it's a good idea to do that, but I can look into it. I mean, there are other clubs that have more than one building on a piece of land as well, and that's also, for instance, the Rugby Club, which have 2 ground leases, 2 buildings. It's the same with the Aero Club, which has the 3 separate buildings and 4 separate parcels. So. There's a lot of instances where a lease will cover more than just one building or one piece of ground. And I just reinforce that it's the entity that leases. We have the lease with the arrangement. And yes, but I can ask.
So you think that's a fair term to pay charge same amount? Some making lots of money, some don't.
The entity is not for profit. You know, it's a community organisation in accordance with our policy, and that's what I'm constrained to when I set the leases.
I think Board Member Rako, I think the report writer's made it quite clear that we're not going to change it today. This is a policy that comes down from Thames Community District Council regarding these rentals. So you look around the table and you say to your councillors, do you want to take it back and do something about it, or it'll come through probably in an LTP situation? So, Board Member McKenzie.
Did I hear you say that you talked about the leases just for the land? Like it doesn't really, the structures on there is not relevant. It's
That's correct. It's just a ground lease. So that's their buildings on top of it. So
Yeah.
they're
So-
leasing the ground. Yeah.
Has council ever thought about maybe doing it so the lease costs could be per square metre rate? For example, this is 2,816 square metres. I know that the Thames Junior Cricket Club have the same amount of lease of $350 a year for a three bay nets. So that's probably, I don't even know, 200 square metres, probably even smaller, but they pay the same amount for a non-for-profit junior cricket club. So I'm just saying, in the scheme of things, has there ever been a thought maybe instead of having a one set rate, depending on the size of the land, how you could then, I mean, obviously there's nothing we can do for now, but just a thought that maybe future-wise, bigger the land, maybe a little bit more expensive, smaller the land.
There'll be a lot of options
Yeah.
to set lease, figures, but yeah, I know that there were commercial rents charged to community groups.
Yeah.
Back in the past, before this policy came in.
Yeah.
It's just another issue for the policymakers to consider.
Yeah.
It's how other councils do it as well. That every council sort of does it slightly differently, but yeah, it's really up to the policymakers and yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. It is complicated. It's a lot more complicated than what it looks at. We're looking at something in isolation here. And you look around all the leases, the $350 leases around the Thames Community District Council area, and you give you some understanding of what it's like. So I think the report writers probably got it that we're going to pass it today, but we're unhappy, and maybe they could look at it and bring forward a recommendation to council to change the leasing structure. But it is a huge, huge task, and having sat through it last time, I know just how frayed Tempest became around the table. Right. Do you want to move it?
I've got another question.
A question?
Nicole, is there anything that prohibits a community group having more than one lease with the council?
Having more than one lease for 2 separate areas.
Yeah. So, the croquet club decide that they want to open up a
Mm.
croquet hall or whatever they call them up at Tapu, and therefore lease a bit of council land for their croquet up there. There would be no
I
reason
see.
why they couldn't have those two leases.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
don't see any reason why.
So I'm going to vote against this motion
Okay,
because I think, and it's not the issue of $350, because I think it's absolutely reasonable for the club rooms and the display area, the hurricane display area, are clearly community assets, and you know, they should only be paying whatever the policy says with 350. I think the other two areas, Area 1 and Area 3, are clearly fall into a different category, and perhaps it would be different if the airfield was only that big, but it's not. It's bigger than that, and there is aspirations for people to be taking leases out at other areas of the airfield, and to me that is clearly a commercial activity. So I'm happy to get behind this for Area 2 and Area 4, but not for Area 1 and Area 3.
And all due respect, Councillor Rebel, we discussed the fact that we're not going to change it today. So whether you vote for it, against it, or for it, it's not going to change today. We can't hang them out to dry and have no lease for them.
Unless everybody votes against it.
And then we wait to the next LTP and change it.
Well, what I heard from the report writer is that she said that she could go away and understand whether it is possible to split this one lease into 2 or 3 leases.
Any comments about that, Nicole?
no,
There's your answer, I think, Councillor Rebel. So, moved by Martin Rodley, Councillor Rodley, seconded by Deputy Chair. I propose to put the motion as written there under recommendation 3 and ask for all those in favour, please say aye. Those against?
No.
Carried. Do you want your vote recorded
Yes, please.
in election year? This request for Thames Rugby and Sports Club, 445 Ngāti Maru Highway, Thames, otherwise known as Rhodes Park. You've all had an opportunity to read this 2.3. Everybody read this one, read the letter from that rugby club. I wonder if the report writer might just go through and just give us a little bit of background as to where you see it, because there's some emails gone out and no replies have been received, correct?
we have not had confirmation that, we have not had confirmation back from the rugby club regarding the fitness co-op being interested in a sublease at this stage. But
So,
whether this is approved or not doesn't really affect that. So a little bit of background.
yep.
Okay, the fitness co-op have been there for quite some time. The rugby club are wanting to get their ducks in a row and therefore have written to us to obtain written consent to allow them to enter into a sublease with the fitness co-op.
No, you're fine, you're fine. Enjoy your time in what? Sorry.
That's okay.
Enjoy your time in Wellington. We need a report when you get back, please. Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'd finished.
You have now. Okay, so you understand this is almost a retrospective request to formalise an existing arrangement they have at what is known as the Old Boys Rugby Club rooms, which gets back into where Councillor Rebel was talking about where you're leasing more than one property on the same site. This is the same situation. So do we have somebody care to move this? Moved by Board Member Rakwa. Seconded by Councillor Roddy, or do you wish to,
Both.
you guys second it?
Yes.
And then you can speak to it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, second by Councillor Rodley. Anybody got any further discussion on this matter? You know, that's a recommendation of the Thames Community District Council.
Yes.
Okay. Go.
So this is basically giving the rugby club the ability to go and talk to the fitness co-op and say to them, hey, we want a, council have said that we can do a formal sublease.
Mm.
But we don't have to know any of the details of that, and whether the fitness co-op choose to accept it or not accept it or negotiate or whatever, that's all just, we're basically putting a mechanism in place to say the rugby club can talk to the co-op about it.
Exactly.
Excellent, perfect, thank you. I'm
Right.
supported on that ground.
Councillor, Board Member McKenzie, or you?
And Martin sort of covered that all really. So yeah. That's that. Just wanted to press the button,
Yeah.
really.
It is what it is what you. Okay, I propose to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against the motion, I declare the motion carried.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Look forward to you coming back after your operation. Don't forget, I've got spare parts if you need them. Oh, we're skipping over that and we're going straight to Capex, which is number. Oh, No, I'm not. I'm just looking for your text. There we go. Getting closer. Okay. I'm going to read your name this time so I don't make the same mistakes I did last time.
Thank you.
Our report writer is Luke Archbold here, the program manager, and we're going to do the Capex report right now whilst Luke is here in the room with us.
So
we'll follow the normal format, or do you wish to say something first? Okay,
please.
go.
So normally, yeah, short and sweet from me, but I've got a couple of points just to cover for you. First of all, just wanted to signal to the community board that we've had some progress in project delivery. We now have released a new project management system for all of council. It has been rolled out to my team initially, with the rest of council to come on board end of May. And why I'm highlighting this for you today is that this will open up an opportunity to look at how we provide you with reports, because we will hold a lot more information in a centralised place. And so the intent is to signal some change in the next financial year. So once the system's bedded in, it's being used as business as usual, we will then start to look at, okay, so how can we utilise that information to give you better insights and better information around the projects for the Thames community. So just a heads up at this early stage. Good news, we're getting things lined up well, and we're looking to improve things for you in the future.
Thank you. It's a day of good news today, but a well-informed board or well-informed council makes well-informed decisions.
Yeah.
And that's important.
So the second point is just a point of clarity for the line item in Thames critical structure renewals. The comment bullet point number 2 may be a little bit confusing. It's actually referencing the Taururu Cemetery. So the first bullet point is about some work complete at the Shortland Cemetery. We're also doing some work with the stairways up at the Taururu Cemetery. And so the design work that's underway is relating to that. Otherwise, I'll take the report as read, Mr. Chair, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we'll just quickly scoot down that page there, starting at the thing. So, Copa Marine, I mean, that's something that this board has been advised of, and we've had a report writer with regards to that, and we understand that the economic development team are doing something about that, and this just tells us where we are with the current situation out there and the planting of plants and wetland mitigation planning. So Totara Valley Road upgrade. I'm really pleased to see that there. It's absolutely critical for this board to see that moving forward. We need those sections, and we need them before central government makes it changes its mind about the way that we can operate, and in terms of land development and zonings and areas. So I see they were appointed, a project management teams have been appointed for that. Thames South Water Treatment
So
Plant.
just through the chair.
Yes, sure. Sorry, go.
Yeah, in regards to Totara Valley, I wanted to ask a question of the board. With our bigger projects, we can do the option of a one-pager as an addendum to the core report. If you're interested in that for this particular project, if it's that important, we can, once we've got Lorenzo and Durban Solutions up and running with some pace, we could start to provide that for you as well. So it gives you just a little bit more detail on this particular project and other than a few bullet points.
Speaking on behalf of the board, and I'm sure they'll agree with me. This is a massive project. It has an incredible amount of work to be done up there, and we do have a financial stake in it, and long term it's the benefit of this area. So yes, that would be fantastic, please. It's been something which has been going since about 1977. So
Yeah.
to speed it up a little bit would be great, and we'd like to see something start here
Well done.
on it.
Will do.
And I'm really happy that we've appointed a project management team and urban
Solutions.
something. And also that you are talking to CBAS, which is critical because that hasn't been happening in the past. Are you having regular meetings, i.e. monthly, 2 monthly on CBAS?
Yes, so Lorenzo is our program manager looking across the whole. So it's not just about building the road and doing the waters, it's about that bigger picture around development. And so he's covering the over the top, and then one of his project managers is managing the infrastructure project within that program.
That's fantastic.
And so we're building it up in a way that we ensure we're going to get a connected outcome from all the moving parts. And Lorenzo has scheduled regular catch-ups with not just CBAS, but any other stakeholders that are involved as
Up
well.
the road further.
Yes.
That is incredibly good news. I'm really looking forward to seeing something happening up there. So to clarify now. So Thornton's Bay slip, anybody interested about what's happening at Thornton's Bay? That's quite a big project, isn't it? For retaining walls and progress. That's
Yeah, it's one of those projects that is funded through due to the storm events, Gabrielle and the like. So it's one of those ones that have been a little bit time coming, but it's now fully underway. It's got a 40-day construction period, which means we should be finished by the end of May on that particular project. We've had no issues to date. There is a little bit of impact on the residents up on Adams Road because we need to close the road regularly, but we've been really proactive in setting up a WhatsApp group for them. They can talk directly with the contractor and we can send messaging out and if anything changes on site. So most residents have been really pragmatic about that and have appreciated the level of engagement.
COVID toilets, have they been installed? Today been the last day of April?
Installed, scheduled for April. I have had some slight delay in that particular project just around some of the consenting elements that we need to get in lined up, and we should have a further update on that soon, so I can feed that through governance to ensure that you get an update on that post-meeting.
Okay, Board Member Rakwa, question?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to go one step back regard for Totara Valley improvement. As the chair says, there was start roughly 1977. Now with 2025, we all getting old. Do you have any roughly time? What time they will be going to complete? Next 5 years, 10 years, something? Because it's good to see the complete one day.
Yeah, so the roading and water and complementary water infrastructure is actually scheduled and was there was a decision in December through council around how we would roll that out against the agreed budget in the LTP. And so so we've stood the project up. Next financial year is focused on design. And so we've got a multi-year project here. So design is happening next year. Well, it's actually starting up now. We're starting to do our procurement planning. We'll go to market for design as soon as that's over the line. And then the following year is the first year of construction with a 2-year construction period. So we're talking within 5 years, less than 5 years. And that means you'll have the road upgrades and the associated water treatment and the like in place.
Oh, 5 years, you have to push me out there in a wheelchair. Waikowhai Bay toilets. That's something wow, that's an incredible increase in what it was to start with, isn't it? Amazing. $700,000. Port Park, Queen Street thing. I see you're going to construction to be completed June 25, which is not far away. So that's where you're going to eke out a little bit of land in between power poles to allow cars to move closer to a footpath. Is that, as I understand it?
Yeah, there's a tight footprint. My understanding is they've worked the way through the design phase, then we've got a way forward.
It's a shame we didn't shift the band room. Anyway. Parks and reserves, open spaces. Some of these things like the handrail that's been coming through for some time now, so we could probably delete that off our list. Oh yeah, completed, but I mean, we don't need the wording, say the paper. Libraries. Roading, footpaths, street light renewals, Pollen Street, that's good. Taken off. Councillor Rodley.
Good morning. Under the Waimu boat ramp refurbishment, over on the other side, it says, so the Waimu's complete, but it's saying commencing the Ruamahanga.
Yes, 2 separate locations is my
But
understanding.
it's under one, is that under one project?
Yes.
Right.
So it's one project to deliver both outcomes.
Cool. Okay.
So that was an unfortunate thing, to be honest, Councillor Rodley, that we were hoping to get some traction out of trying to divert people to use the Kopu Marine facility while this was happening. But I see there's been some slight movement in respect to that. But it was unfortunate we didn't get more traction on that and encourage people to use Kopu Marine while those 2 boat ramps are closed and under refurbishment. All right, everybody? Nothing else? Shore management plan, all that? Right down the bottom of the page. Okay. Who's going to do that? Okay. Councillor Rodley.
Yes, so just at the top of page 39, the Thames Sports Partnership Project. So presumably there's budget
Thank you.
already allocated for that draft feasibility study.
So not a project for me, but I'll hand over to Rose.
Yeah.
You can probably answer that.
That is correct. Thames Community Board approved the budget for that in 2022.
Is that out of the endowment farms, is it?
Jump
Yeah.
into that
Board
question.
member Mackenzie?
So I don't know how much that money is. And I think we've all made it pretty known that we don't think that that sports partnership project is something that can be on the cards for the wee while. Have we ever thought about maybe transferring that allowance to do another 100-page essay onto actually putting it into a park that we have right now to making sure that that stays afloat? Or is that not an option?
Well, basically, as I understand it, in the real world, in the political world, when the money's allocated for a specific project, you can't just take it out there and change it and put it into something else. So this part, and I stand corrected, is that?
So the project is almost finished.
Yeah.
The feasibility study, the draft's going to
been
be
ongoing.
released soon. We have a project meeting next week.
Okay.
On the 6th of May.
Is that the steering group project meeting?
That's the internal.
Is that the one that I'm a part of? Or no?
There's a council one.
Oh, okay. So not the steering group then. Okay. So it has been a bit quiet on that end regarding that. Is it because they have been doing stuff behind the scenes? Like I haven't heard about it for months.
So the
As
lead
part
on
of the
that,
steering
on the
group.
aquatic project? at the moment?
No,
So the
this is-
sports partnership project?
Yeah, the steering group for
So
that.
it's with sitting with Visitor Solutions whereby they are getting the draft completed for the steering group to review. Once we have a draft, it'll be sent out to the
Okay.
steering group.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
in May 2025, they'll be sending it out to you, according to this here. So this has been this went hand in hand with the aquatic facility project. So hopefully it's going to be wrapped up because I, like you, are getting frustrated that time is taken.
Mm.
Councillor Rodley?
Looking at this from a ratepayer's point of view, I imagine there will be ratepayers who will be saying, why are we spending money on this when there's a number of challenges and potentially things that aren't affordable, with protection of the Thames area along there, swimming pool, aquatic facility, etc. So I guess the time for us to talk about that will be when that feasibility study arrives.
The feasibility study is not being paid for by rates. The funds to pay for it were resolved by Thames Community Board from Tugpra in
Yes,
2022.
Yeah, and I mean, we all understand that, but the person out there on the street, for them, it's rates money.
I guess,
And I just,
the thing is, the problem's not going to go away. The sporting community
Yeah.
know that we have a problem. It's getting worse every year.
yeah,
All the evidence that we have to
Yeah,
date
um,
suggests that our council eventually needs to take action,
yeah.
and we
I'm-
can't do that
I'm
yet.
just saying, if we get a feasibility study and there's something in there, some numbers of 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 million or 30 million, then it's just one more additional thing that we will have difficulty paying for, and people will be saying, why are you spending money? Even though you say it's Tugpra money and not rates money, it's money that, I'm just putting it out there.
I hear you, Councillor Rodley. It doesn't matter where it comes from, whether it's endowment farms or whether it's local rates or district rates, it's still money. The thing is, we as a board have to ensure that the people in our ward have facilities to be able to use. And I hear you loud and clear, and don't worry, once the feasibility report comes in, we'll shovel it on upstairs pretty quickly to the district council, and you can make that decision around the table.
And it will be great to have a feasibility report.
Well,
so
you'll
we
need
can then
that.
start to base
You'll need that.
things on it. But yeah.
And just through the chair, from a project perspective, having that work done up front means that we won't have the risk of running into it not being a feasible delivery halfway through the project. So I'm really pleased to hear that we're getting that work done. Whether we use it now or in 5 years or 10 years time, or it's still going to be something that's useful for that, ensuring we are building in the right place.
And I appreciate those comments, and we as a board have come to the understanding that we'll be at Rhodes Park for the next 18 to 20 years. So at some stage, we've got to start looking around. Board Member Mackenzie?
Yeah, you sort of semi-answered the question while you were speaking just then, but I suppose my question is, when you have a feasibility study and you have all this paperwork, is there an end date of how long that feasibility paperwork can last for? Like, is there expiry date? Like, if you have it done now, can you use it 20 years into the future if you put that on hold and go, all right, 20 years later, we'll pick it up, and is it relevant? Is it irrelevant?
So you wouldn't throw it into the trash because it's 20 years old, but that would be your starting point.
Right.
And then you would engage the services to say, right, so what has changed since this report
Yeah.
has landed, and what do we now need to add to this feasibility assessment?
Yeah.
So the mandate is smaller and the cost is smaller to update it,
Right. 'Cause
essentially.
follow on from that is my concern is that this is not a conversation that has started in the last 3 years. This has been going on for many years, and that's as part of the steering group and being at those meetings with the people involved with the sports park. A lot of people were very frustrated at council spending more money on another feasibility study, on another. So that would be my main of concern is, well, I don't want to get further down the track and then have to restart, because pretty much what happened with this one is they just threw everything out to the trash that was previous and started again. So I think preferably we would all want a new sports park, but as time has gone on, we've all learned that it's unfortunately we can't afford it at the moment. But yeah, my concern is we would still waste the time and energy and the funds that we have put into this feasibility study, and then in future we have to redo it all again.
So I guess when I look at the feasibility study at this point, you've engaged industry leading experts in this one. So you should have some confidence that this will not be irrelevant into the future.
Yeah.
It just will need an update.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I think Board Member Mackenzie, at some stage you have to put a stake in the ground and say whether we go forward from here or what we're going to do. But unless we've got information around it and things, and when it comes to going further out, I presume you just increase the cost based on your increase in ratepayers, or increase in people living here, or increase in sports people using, or who knows who will want to use it in 10 or 15 years time, or will WRC force us to move out? So there's a whole lot of things swirling around this. Has anybody else looked? Board Member Rakwa?
Thank you, Chair. That's a good conversation about the feasibility study stuff. Just want to have smaller question. Does in council staff member have this ability to do feasibility study or business case, that kind of thing, or we have to keep hiring people from outside of the building?
We're a small council, so we can't have every type of expertise held within council. So we do need to, when it's a specific area, pull that expertise in. This is about engaging recreational experts that have got decades of experience into the mix and who regularly deliver this type of work for councils and other groups all through New Zealand. So what you're getting is not just your local context, you're getting the New Zealand Inc. view of how to do this best, because they're delivering the same work all across New Zealand.
Thank you. So just to comment what you just said, Board Member Rakwa, not only do councils have consultants, but so does private industry. Everybody has consultants. Not everybody's an expert on every subject. So if you're going to get that number of staff sitting around in here, then you will have complaints to the ratepayers about the cost of running council, the high salaries and things like that. So sometimes you just bring in a consultant, get the job done and get on. You may not agree with a consultant, or council may make what we think is a wrong choice in consultants, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to do the mahi, to do the work. And at this is an ongoing thing, as Board Member Mackenzie pointed out, as before we came into this training. It's been running for a number of years prior to this, so just one of those things that the old saying is suck it up and wear it. Right. Is there anything, are you not part of this one of the page? I'm trying to find who's going to comment about sub-regional thing. Is that part of you? Right. My only comment is why they insist on calling it Thames Sub-Regional Aquatic Facility when there's no sub-regional input? Or are we saying subliminal that we're going to go sub-regional? I know. And are they contributing towards the cost of it? I hope you bring that out at the council meeting about the number of people from the Eastern Seaboard that use it.
So through the chair, I'll pass to Rose, who's been involved in this a lot longer than I have. It's the history of why it's called what it is.
The report that you received in March had a sub-regional option in it.
Yeah.
And so the project is still called the Thames Sub-Regional Aquatic Facility Project. Eventually that might change, but to date it's still got the same name.
Okay. Any questions with regards to the sub-regional aquatic centre? Councillor Rebel?
As I heard on, and somebody on Saturday commented, why does Thames call it an aquatic facility? Surely it's just a public pool. I'd just like to raise the thing of that in the time where we've got the red there. I think we passed a resolution at the last meeting that we would remove the current pool in 2027, whether or not we had a replacement in place. I would like to recommend that we do some thinking now about how do we cope with a hiatus between having no pool and whenever the new pool is built. What are the things that we as council can be thinking about for all those users of the pool as to what help or guidance or whatever it might be that we can do, what anything that would provide some assistance to them in dealing with not having a pool in place. And I think to do that thinking ahead of time rather than leaving it until July 2027 would be prudent.
Yes, through the chair, I noted Rose making a note of that because I suspect that'll need to go to Larissa as the activity manager to manage that process between the gap between provision of pool facilities.
And one councillor from the other side has raised questions about the legality of us having to move out and things like that. It's quite a complex situation, and I think it'll end up going rangatira to rangatira for discussion. So this is the second bite of the cherry for removal of the pool. As originally was 2015, now it's 2027, and I'm picking that it will not be this board to be making that decision about whether the pool can be kept there for another 4 or 5 years longer or not. I don't know. It all comes down to the feasibility of the pool. If you read in there, it says that it's unaffordable to Thames ratepayers. The affordability is not there. So I suppose then if you take that component out, that the Thames ratepayers alone, the 5,525 Thames ratepayers are unable to pay for the pool themselves, what's the alternative?
That's the purpose of the workshop, isn't it? Yep.
That's right. Absolutely correct, Councillor Rodley. Absolutely correct. Deputy Chair.
Mr. Archibald, I have a little question, just a quick one. Removal of that pool, which must happen, 2027. What, there's a plan already in place for that this far out, or is that something further down the track?
So I guess the decision was only recently made to
Yeah.
confirm that that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Planning is now underway on how we would procure the demolition services to achieve that.
And during that demolition, you may not even know the answer to this, but there's an obvious asset wise, there's not a lot of assets in there that are worth salvaging, except perhaps the heating system.
Yeah, so that would be part of the project to
identify
decommission is
Yeah.
what could be reused, repurposed,
Reuse,
what
yeah.
needs to be written off.
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of thinking.
Yeah.
But those, that would be, anything you wanted to keep would be council asset, and because it already is, and the rest of it would be up to the contractor or whatever to dispose of.
Yeah,
Just thinking about, I'm just thinking in terms of refit of an existing system to high school pool, for example, and as Councillor River was saying, maybe setting something up there in the hiatus period, so that it's actually usable for all the people that can't swim down there, that can go there, or whatever.
Yeah, and through the chair, you've identified that as the preferred site.
Sure.
So it's about that working in partnership. And
Oh no, I was saying the existing high school pool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that could be part of that partnership
Okay.
discussions
Yeah.
between the activity and the
Yep.
school.
Great. Thanks.
Anyway, thank you very much. Any further comment? I've got to thank you for being so honest and open about your answer. Very refreshing to hear somewhere you say it as I see it, rather than following the line.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess that's about information for you to make good decisions. So to be factual. Good. Thank you.
I'm happy to move that you receive the Community Board Capex program. Page 34. Thank you. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
And could I be excused, please? I have to get myself to Wellington. I was anticipating that in accordance with the agenda that we would be through by 11:45. Well, it's what was written in paper, on the paper, Chair. No, well.
Go.
Through the chair, does that affect the vote on this next item? Discretionary budget approval? Doesn't? Well, I guess my question is, can he give an indication and leave that, or is that not allowed? Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Right. Are you gone, Councillor Revel? We'll mark you as not being here, so you can't vote. Okay. 2.4, allocation of Thames Community Board 2024-25 discretionary budget. Well, I have to take that as being read by everybody. but we will have a discussion on it. Yeah, but do you want to go up there and do it?
Do you want me to go through the spreadsheet or do you want me to just summarise the options first?
No. Hey?
Just going to do a quick introduction.
Okay. So this discretionary funding that we've got here, this is based on $105,000 we were granted to put money in the community. So this is what is quite a complicated report for me. I don't know about how others found it. So I'm going to ask the area manager, who is the report writer. Thank you. To give us a quick summary of where we are and what we've got to spend. Oh, and cramp. Yeah, keep going.
Good afternoon, members. The purpose of this report is to allocate the board's discretionary budget that is remaining for 2024-25, which is $23,755. In October 2024, the board allocated $81,000 of its $105,000. So it's $81,291. And an update on those initiatives that were supported is in attachment A. The board has previously identified community safety, children and youth, and Thames, the promotion of Thames and Thames tourism providers as areas it would like to invest in. And these are reflected in the options in this report today. As mentioned, there is $23,755,000 remaining in this budget. Option 1 today is to invest in community safety initiatives, and we have one from the Thames Community Patrol, and this is recommended. Option 2 is to invest in initiatives for children and youth, and this is also recommended. Option 3 today is to invest in a new map sign to promote Thames and Thames tourism providers, and that would be outside the Thames Civic Centre. That is not recommended at this time. Option 4 is to invest in other community initiatives, and there are 3 for you to consider today, and option 5 is to do nothing. I've prepared a list of the items for you to review, and they should be coming up on the screen shortly. So option 1, followed by the items in option 2. So we'll go through them. Are there any questions about or comments about option 1?
I don't have an option 5. In fact, it's not even possible to have an option 5. Do nothing. Yes, Councillor Rodley.
May I ask a broader question?
Sure.
So the various initiatives here, were they a combination of elected members hearing from particular groups, along with staff maybe identifying things from previous grant applications that weren't successful? Or was it also potentially the groups that are a little bit more clued up who were aware that they could apply? I'm still struggling with how we moved from a chunk of contestable with a small amount of discretionary to all being discretionary. I know some of the reason for doing that was because it was a whole heap of work for our governance folk going through all the applications, someone applying for 5,000, but they've got $500,000 in the bank, so all that kind of stuff is gone now. And I can look at this and say, well, Thames Community Patrol, I don't know. I guess I know because I keep my ear out, but they don't have a great deal of money. But we're being asked to make decisions now with really very little information on how fair and equitable it is. Like the Grey Power one, I don't know if they've got $300 in the bank or $10,000 in the bank. I suspect it's closer to the small amount. So I'm I'm just really struggling to know, is this something, and also is this something they would do if we didn't, because that's another criteria. Will a particular project go ahead if we don't fund it? And again, we haven't got that sort of information. And I also feel around the different community boards, there's kind of different ways and assessments of these. So I know that's a lot of questions, but I'm just comfortable because I don't know how much I'm helping a group that might be able to do it themselves, or there's no way they can do it without us.
So I'm just going to ask the report writer to comment on your questions and provide some answers. The bottom line is we've got $23,000 residual money left over. This is May, June, 2 months.
I mean, this may well be
This is an example when you're $105,000, which is granted to us by council out of local rates, to be spent as a discretionary fund, and we don't spend it within the prescribed time. So it's whether we sit down, whether the new board sits down earlier in the piece and do it, or whether we do it today and get the rest of the money.
But I guess it's more around the criteria.
Yeah, I do hear what you're saying.
And
absolutely.
I completely I know I'm not going to get an answer, particularly because like you say, we've got 2 months left to spend to hand out 23,000. But I just feel it's an important. Actually, shall I just park it?
Yes.
Don't bother answering it.
So my comment is the board has indicated priorities of community safety, children and youth, and Thames tourism providers. So that was resolved back in October last year. So we went out, we talked to the Thames Community Patrol. TRAP came and did a presentation to you, and you said, let us know what you need. So they have. So it's a real mixture of what falls into those 3 categories, plus also other needs that we know about in the community. But in terms of your question about how did this occur, our councillors decided some time ago that they didn't want to have contestable grant rounds each year, and so funds weren't allocated for a contestable grant round. They were only allocated for discretionary spending.
So, I got your name down. So,
but when
I don't know any.
When that was decided by councillors, and there was a range of feelings around the table, there was the expectation, I feel, that there was going to be some broad guidelines around how people could apply, how we would let people know. Because with the contestable ones, we would put ads in the paper, we would have it on radio interviews, hey, we've got some money available, let us know. And I just don't feel that there's been that kind of thing. But again, it's willing to park it, but I think it's still an issue, and it will be an issue next year and the year after.
So you recall that the council, the policy is in the pipeline, and that will be coming to the council in due course for consideration. And there is a policy for the discretionary budget as well as the contestable budget. And so you might want to consider how that is for you, given your comments today. But as staff, we are tasked with implementing a budget where we don't have a policy, and it's called the discretionary budget. And so what you have done is indicated to me your priorities, which I've reviewed already, those 3 priorities. And so the reports that I bring to you reflect those.
So my understanding was to make it discretionary funding to eliminate all the people making application and council staff having to beaver through them all. And then the idea was that they will come before us to look at, and we can go down there and you can say yay or nay as we're going rolling through it. But at the end of the day, you've got some 60 odd days to resolve the issue in one more meeting. So Board Member Mackenzie, followed by Deputy Chair.
I never was comfortable with it becoming discretionary. I always made my opinion clear that it's very important that we give the opportunity to the community to be able to keep doing this. So I was upset that it got changed. However, I still think we have done a disservice to the community, the fact that no one is aware of this. And in the $23,500+ that's remaining, I personally don't feel comfortable that nearly 60-70% of that is going to go to one person, one organisation, which I understand is TRAP and they do a lot. However, if they were planning on creating this huge thing that they're doing, I don't feel like it's okay for them to rely quite heavily on us to look for $15,000+ from the community board or from this discretionary fund. I don't feel comfortable with it, and I feel like there's a lot of communities out, people out there that would, if they knew, if they just had a foot in the door like TRAP does, if they knew about it, they would also put something in, but they just don't. No one is aware, and I understand that the word discretionary is there for a reason. But like Martin was saying, there was such a huge publicity about the funds in previous years. Now it's gone completely quiet. It's almost like we're trying to keep it hush-hush, and I don't agree with that. I think it's important that more people are aware of this. And I don't know how we do it, and I understand there's 60 days, but yeah, I just don't feel comfortable with this at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deputy Chair.
Yeah, well, I know how you do it. You are the community representative. So you go out there and tell people in the same way that I have. And it sort of answers Martin's question as well. It's discretionary, and you're saying people don't know, but you know, we have a broad range of connections, and not the same connections either throughout the community. So you know, that's how people find out. That's how they know, and we should be in touch with all those groups. I'm in touch with mine, and some I don't even know of, who I bumped into the other day at that Creative Coromandel thing, and said, hey, there's a discretionary fund available.
Yeah,
you know,
in addition, some of them are proactive. So we went to Thames Community Patrol because that's one of the areas, community safety, that the board identified.
Yeah.
We went to Thames ATC and asked them what are their needs at the moment, and the same with the youth centre. So we do go out and try and be proactive to those 3 areas of focus that the board has identified.
Which we voted on. So, and it's not much point now in talking about the policy, because the policy originated from a higher level in this board. We just allocated the $105,000 at our discretion to give to various groups and organisations. One of the things I found in previous years was some people got funny little amounts like $2,500, $4,000, and really there was not a lot being achieved with the money they got. You disagree. I know you disagree, and you wouldn't be sitting there saying yes to me. I know. So I've been down that path, argued for, I think, and you'll be able to tell me, Councillor Rodley, and the last time under the board chair of Strat Peters, didn't you spend a day and a half talking about how you're going to spend that money? That's what he told me anyway. To spend a day and a half going through all these applications that you wanted to allocate money to, and it just, well, put your submission into district council then, if that's how you feel about it, and then maybe you form a committee amongst yourselves and do it and come back and recommend to the board what you want to do. But honestly, I never felt that anybody was getting any traction out of them. They were just small parcels of money being handed out left, right and centre. And it was almost like trying to smooth over troubled waters and say, well, I gave you some money and that's your bit. Where our real problem is the money that we allocate year in and year out to the same groups without coming through here. That's the one we need to look at, like the fire brigades and the things like that, if you really want to get in and look about money being allocated out.
But that's not, I mean, that's the 3-year contracts and the rollover things as opposed to this discretionary.
But at the end of the day, the council decided that the boards will have discretionary funds
Yes,
for
but
3
the
years.
council also
and
asked,
we have no
also
process.
asked for guidelines. And it's being done different ways in different community
Correct,
boards. This is the
correct.
point that I'm making.
And
Did
the
we get the
policy has,
guidelines?
there
Did
is
we
a,
get the guidelines?
there is a policy in the new, that, that will be coming to
Yeah,
council.
But that's been over 2 years in the making, hence my frustration. I'm not just raising this at the last minute to be a pain, but that's the problem when we're doing things without policies. Someone comes to me and says, how come we weren't told about that? We can say, well, look, I'm sorry. And some of our elected members are out there asking groups and telling groups. But again, that's quite selective.
So there's a process around this in the new policy, for the discretionary budget. It's called the community focus policy. And it requires a similar approach to what we've taken here. So if you don't like that, then when it comes to you, you'll need to raise that. Because at the moment, the boards like having flexibility. They like having discretion. That's what we heard when we went out to them last July, August.
Yeah, but then we're saying you've got discretion, but here's our 3 focus areas. Oh, but we can also do things outside of that. So yeah. I get the discretion, but the simple thing that I'm trying to point out is that we don't know if a thing will go ahead if we fund it or if we don't fund it. So we could say for option 2, well, actually, let's fund the catering and the photo booth. And then the group comes back to us 2 weeks' time and says, well, the whole thing can't go ahead unless we get the whole amount of money. We don't know. How can I vote on something if I don't know? If the thing's going to go ahead, and then we're 30 days closer to our time running out.
You can vote. Yeah, 2 votes. Either vote yes or no or abstain. Abstain is not a vote.
Yeah, I understand.
So you go back to what investment 2024-25 is as follows: community safety, children, youth, promoting Thames and Thames tourism providers. And that was moved by Deputy Chair Johnson and seconded by Councillor Rodley. So the point is, this is the wrong.
I don't feel that is that denies me the right to talk about this policy.
The policy is set by you around the council table, not us.
The agreement on the fact that it all be discretionary, not the policy, because Rose has just said there isn't currently a policy. So don't tell me I agreed on a policy
what we
when there isn't
recommended.
a policy.
You came to that conclusion. What we didn't recommend it. We still wanted to have 2 policies like we had. Council decided, no, we'll make it all discretionary. So that's what we're stuck with. And to be honest, let's get through this one, get this out of the way, and then you make your decisions going forward next year. Whether right or wrong is, to be honest, kind of immaterial. We've got the money, we've got to allocate it, and it's probably, if you want to come up with another group organisation, then you can make that decision if you're re-elected going forward about, or after July 1, when money comes up again, you can set the rules for the incoming board if you wish to, which I would caution against. I'd let the incoming board to make that decision themselves. But if you wish to, you could set the conditions after July the 1st about how you want discretionary money being spent. I would counsel against that.
Yeah, in addition to that, I would need to write a report to get a decision from you on how to do that. If you're not in agreement with this resolution that was passed.
Yeah. For the second or third or fourth time, I understand I'm not going to get any change to any sort of policy in time for us to vote on the remaining 23,000. I'm simply raising my concern that this is not equitable at the moment.
I understand that, Councillor Rodley, and going to have to move forward on this. So you tell me, as you sit around the table, and this is your role as elected members to make decisions. So you tell me going forward, how do you want to do this now? Because this is what we've got in front of it. This is what the recommendation is to us. We're going to receive the report, so to discuss it. Get rid of that one. Oh, here we are. So, I'm getting cramped. Right, who's none? The Thames Community Board received the allocation of the Thames Community Board's 24-25 discretionary budget report dated the 10th of April 2025. Do we have a mover for that, please? I'll second it. Any discussion? There being none, I propose to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Be carried. So now we can discuss those options going down. So that was only to receive the report. It wasn't to receive these items. Option 1, invest in a community safety initiative, which is what we agreed that we could do. A marquee for the Thames Community Patrol. Yes or no?
How do you want to roll it?
Right. Shall we?
How do people want to roll it?
Okay. Okay. All right. So we're gonna make this a lot more formal now. Councillor Board Member McKenzie, listening. We're gonna make this a lot more formal now. So that there, option 1. Do we have a mover and seconder for option 1, please? You second it? Moved by, yeah, moved by Deputy Chair and seconded by Councillor Rodley. Now the motion is on the table, and the motion is option 1, $1,311 from 2024-25. Oh, on the screen in front of you. Must be in small print if it is. Especially here for Thames Community Board to purchase a marquee for fundraising events. So it's moved by that. So we're now going to vote on that. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Against? Declared carried. Do you want that recorded? You want that recorded? Right. We died. Is this Portugal? No, it's not Portugal, is it? How good without Portugal. Forget it. Right. So here's the big one. Approve option 2, which is 18,036.02 cents. As recommended in attachment B from its 2020-24-25 discretionary budget for initiative for children and youth as follows. There we are. You got that in front of you anyway.
May I ask a question about option 2?
Oh, we need to move in the seconder first, please.
Oh, so recommendation 2?
Yep.
I'll move that.
You'll move it. Seconded by Deputy Chair.
So my question is about the words in part. Approve option 2 in part.
So the Chair, if you look at the balances, the recommended balance is slightly less than the cost, and that's because there isn't quite enough funding available in the amount to allocate the 23,755. So I've just reduced one of the items, which is item C, slightly to come within that budget.
Thank you for the clarification.
Mackenzie.
Do we have to vote on the whole lot, or can we vote on certain things? Can we say yes to certain things, no to certain things, or does it have to be that 18,000?
So it's in part because you have the opportunity to go through the parts and decide
What we say yes and no
correct.
to.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
We're going to move in second for that option in front of us. So you're going to make it complicated and you want to put up another motion about taking items out of that?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
with respect, Mr. Chair, I thought we moved it and seconded it so that it was on the table and then we could discuss it.
Yeah, that's
Isn't that the
Yeah,
situation?
we are going to discuss it, but if you want to change
Well,
the monetary amount in there,
yeah,
you have to move an amendment.
yeah. Okay. Well,
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, so, but we're in discussion at the moment.
Yeah, in discussion, yeah. I'm just cautioning the board member that we'll have to make an amendment to change it. Yep,
Or would we simply be just not approving one of the C or the D or whatever, rather than an actual amendment?
Okay. So A,
sorry.
so is everyone in agreement with A?
A, which is guest
Speakers.
speaker,
Speaker fee.
6,500. Guest speakers.
Can I just, sorry, I don't want to complicate things, but can we maybe discuss as a group more about that total amount for the TRAP? Because I want to give them something, but I don't want to give them all of it. And I don't know if that's the same feeling around the table, but I don't want to say no to something and then, you know what I'm saying? I just want to make sure that we all understand that.
Okay,
So
you've got the floor. You tell us what you want to say. Tell us what you want to say. You tell us what you want.
Well,
And we'll discuss your
okay.
thing.
Personally, I feel they ask too much. So I would like to give I would be happy to give them some money. So for example, maybe the 6,500 to actually do this rangatahi summit. However, I feel the catering, the giveaways, the hire of the booth, and the t-shirts could be something that they fund by themselves. That's how I would feel. But if that 6,500 could get spread somewhere else, if other members may feel that that's not how they feel, I don't know. But that's sort of what I'm thinking.
I see ATCs included in there and that's amount.
would it be easier to
Marquee.
talk about that one first and then the rest? Because then you know how much you've got left.
No.
Okay.
So that comes up to 18,000, does it? So it's not 18,000 for,
It's included in that.
Included. It's about 15, nearly
we're
16,000.
talking about T-RAP, for example.
A TRAP.
T-RAP, that's
Let's
what,
just put that. Yes. Okay. Let me just see what that adds up to. Separate. I think it's separate.
Yeah.
That's what the TRAP amount is.
yeah, okay. So just to clarify that situation there, the amount that's going to T-RAP, the amount allocated to T-RAP is $15,280.75. It does not include the marquee for ATC. So the actual amount for T-RAP on its own.
280.75, yeah.
So,
I'll just do the.
So once it comes up on the board, so basically, do you want to engage the guest speaker at $6,500?
Yeah, well,
Do you want to
yeah.
provide catering at $3,150? Do you want to provide cost of purchase items for attendees, give away pens and drink bottles at $1,518.75? Or do you want to hire a booth, $1,122? Or do you want to even allow $2,990 to purchase T-shirts and hoodies for the advisory panel? So they are the items for T-RAP.
Correct.
So is there any of those you want in or any of those you want out?
6,500 is in.
Right?
And to me, I would like everything else out.
So that's all they'd get.
Yes. And sorry, can I just confirm with Rose, when you spoke with TRAP, did they put these breakdowns in place and tell you what these were going to cost for each?
We got quotes for everything.
Okay. So would they have done that in the off chance where they're just hoping maybe we could fund one of the things, or did they have a discussion to you that they would hope that we would fund the whole lot, or you're not aware?
So they're trying to run an event for young people. And in that description, it explains who those people are.
Correct.
And they are seeking funding to help pay for these items, which are part of the event.
So did they lead on to say, we need all this money from you, or they didn't discuss that at all with you at all?
They are seeking funding for these items. So if there's no funding for catering, then they'll have to do some baking the night before, I guess, or make sandwiches. If they can't get funding for the photo booth, they won't have it, I guess, unless they can raise some other funding.
It's not, oh, sorry, that's not what I was saying. What I was
okay.
saying to you is when you had the discussions with them, did they allude to the fact that if we did not supply all this funding, it would not go ahead? Or did they say, these are the things that we need? If the community board could come, like, help us with a few of them or all of them?
Yeah, whatever they would like as much support as the community board feels it could give.
Okay, so they weren't saying we needed the whole lot.
They're seeking support to run an event, and I guess if you think about the event, the key things are you can't have the event without the speakers. They want to feed people. So I guess there's some priorities, and if they had less money than what is indicated here, they would need to prioritize or raise additional funding somewhere else.
Yeah, because this to me looks like that's the whole thing. That's the whole event, and they're asking us to fund the whole event. So
Yeah,
Well,
they are.
That's my question. So when they sent something in as a sort of a bunch of quotes and all the rest of it and gave you a breakdown of potential costs, were there any other funds that they were providing themselves to assist the running of it?
Not that they indicated to me.
Not that they indicated, but so you don't know, but you perhaps don't think so. You're not sure.
Not that they've indicated to me.
Not that they've indicated.
No.
Yep.
So, Councillor
Freedom?
Rodley. Oh, that one's gone. Do you want to comment, Paul? We're going around.
With my former misgivings still front and centre of my mind, I would be prepared to look at the 6.5 for the item A. I think I would have difficulty justifying, with the limited information we have, anything else. I can justify 6.5, I think, but I'd have difficulty justifying other things on there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll speak to it again. I'm happy with the whole lot, to be honest. I think like TRAP, who have come and presented to us before, are doing an excellent job. We do have a board interest in youth, which we've previously stated, and we've done other stuff. I think this is a singular event. It's a big event. I think, and we've got $23,000 discretionary to spend. And as you say, there may be people out there that don't know about it and all the rest of it. But that's just a fait accompli. That's where we are. And I think we can just allocate this money, make it a good event. And there's the speakers and providing food, great. Hoodies to identify the TRAP people. I don't see a problem with that. T-shirts for attendees, I don't see a problem with that. And the photo booth is a lot of fun for people. So to me, it makes it a good event. I don't think it's a terrible price to pay for supporting youth in town.
Board Member Require, do you want to comment?
Thanks, Chair. After listening, everyone, I think I'll go with 6,500 and take the rest off. Due to we have to answer other community organization, what's based, what are we making decisions on? So just keep it simple, 6,500.
Okay, well, personally, this community board in a roundabout sort of way adopted TRAP. I think what they did last year was absolutely amazing. They come back to community board. I think it's an organisation which is slowly turning some of the youth in Thames around. Now, every now and again, you have a little conference or have a little gathering like this. Now, this gathering is just not for T-RAP. It's Manaia School, Coromandel School, Whangamata School, Hauraki Plains School. I think Ngāti, it's T-RAP plus 100 other children and going to guest speakers. If we can change the life of one child in that group or motivate people to do better in life, then that is fantastic. Sure, if I was to look at that and I'd say, why a photo booth? But then I'm not that age, so I wouldn't know. But I'm sure they'd all gather in that photo booth and have a great time. It is at the end of our discretionary budget time. It's you will, even if you don't spend anything else other than the 6,500, I'm not too sure what you intend doing with the balance which is left over from that. We'll have one more meeting before.
I'm not going to write it.
That was going to be one of my questions. If we're taking bits and pieces out
Yeah.
of this, what's that then do to what's left?
The funds in that at the end of the year will go into retained earnings.
Is there enough time between now and the next meeting to see if we can get other people to put an interest in for this?
Are
You-
you
you see we
asking
got-
to run a contestable grant round?
No. If we have money left over from this, because then are we able to see if other people from the community, like Rob was saying, talk to the people in the community about this discretionary fund? Do we have time for them to put an application in for this discretionary fund?
Is there a backup
There's
list?
no application process. This is groups that request funds or that we go out to.
Okay, is there time for them to request money for the discretionary fund before this term finishes? Is the question,
I was intending this would be the last report for the year.
is there time?
So there's no backup list of if something drops out of here.
List. No.
Right.
But we couldn't make time.
It's not the end of the term. It's July.
Or end of July,
No, beginning of July.
beginning of July. Well,
End of June.
All right.
June
it's-
30.
it's May, June. So we've got 60 days.
Yeah. Let's not rush things through either way. It'll go into retained earnings, so nobody will
And then it's
won't have
gone.
use of it anyway. So we take the money away from the T-RAP, put it in retained earnings, and that'll sit. So I'm just going to
Can
speak
I-
to, I'm just going
sorry.
to speak to Dean Allen. Dean?
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me okay, Board?
Yep.
Yeah,
we can all
I'm
hear
just
you.
looking at my schedule, and you do have a meeting in June. So if there was to be another group that came forward and were interested in the discretionary fund, then essentially we could submit that application, and Rose would do one or two pager to assist that application. You can consider that in your June meeting, so you would have time.
Thank you for clarifying that, Dean.
When's the meeting? What? No, June's 1 month. I said, when is the meeting? When is the meeting in June, please? On your calendars? Thanks, Cherie.
The 22 days.
Now, you can't go out and get cricket club, soccer club. Well, none of us have put anything personally into it. Yeah. 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 Okay, so I propose to put the motion. Well, I was going to put the motion as it was. If you voted down, if that happens, gets voted down, the outcome will be you can't put up another motion. So you need to make an amendment now if you want to make an amendment, whoever wants to change it to that amount of money. I don't.
I will,
And your amendment is?
to change it to that figure, the 6,500.
So moved. Moved by Board Member McKenzie that
You can use the fancy
that
word.
option 2 be reduced by what someone might, that option 2, to scroll down, I can't read it. Option 2 is $6,500
Hmm.
for HERAP. Is it?
Correct.
Oh, here we are. You done it? Yep. Yeah.
Use the amount of funds for the Thames Advisory Panel to $6,500.
Okay. Are we able to put that up on the screen, please? So everybody can see it?
Uh,
Do you want the cable? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need to. Just for the amendment, and then you'll have to go to the motion.
Yep.
You can put it. Isn't that-
No, I'm looking because that,
Yeah, so it's just down to 6.5.
yeah,
Change as well.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That
And then here's a question.
the board recommends, and the board,
So then that total will change.
yeah,
Yeah. it's
so the
1,500.
board recommends the sum of 6,500, I think,
Just
yeah,
from that amendment, that one there.
that's a board recommend or no? Board member McKenzie is
So
recommending.
it's an amendment to the original motion.
Yeah, I've
So
got that.
put-
Where's the first words?
Is that, so. so that seems- It's not the full motion yet.
No.
You just want to put the motion for the amendment.
Okay, oh, there we are.
Oh.
I mean, the top part too, Jenna?
No, because that happened automatically. That happens automatically. That's moved by board member McKenzie and seconded by board member Rakwa that that yeah, that the total budget for the Thames Advisory Panel, Ngāti Maru Runanga for the 2025 summit is $6,500. Okay, that's the amendment. So the total budget for the Thames Youth Advisory Panel, Ngāti Maru Runanga for 2025 Rangatahi Summit is $6,500. All right? Is that what you second? Okay. So this is the amendment. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? No. Okay, now let's get this
I
right.
don't know what I don't know what money that we're not putting in here could go to, and I
Okay.
don't want it going to retained earnings. And I'm not comfortable with the idea that we now have got 20-something days to go out and ask to shoulder tap other groups to.
Okay,
I'm so
so the
conflicted on so
situation,
many
the situation is now, you abstain, correct? Board member McKenzie and board member Rakwa voted yes. And deputy chair and the chair voted to retain the full budget, not to reduce it. And there lies the issue. Yeah, the amendment. So casting vote is we'll go back to the original budget. And that's in standing orders. All right, so we're back to the original budget. So I want the correct total, which is 15,000. Where is it?
Yep.
Okay,
Now you can put the motion for the original.
okay. Do we have a mover, please, to approve? Oh, yeah, we've got that. Sorry. Now we'll put the original motion, which is Rodney and Johnson, who moved and seconded. All those in favour of the Thames Youth Advisory.
Just read that, Mr. Chair.
Beg your pardon?
The motion out and read it out again.
Okay. Yep.
Go as it is on screen.
Are they up? Two. So you see the motion there in front, which is what you people moved? That is the actual rangatahi. That's the TRAP's total sum of money, not 18,000. That's 15,280 and 75 cents. All right, all those in,
From a procedural point of view, if I'm not going to support that, would I be better not to withdraw my movement, my initial movement?
no, you
I
can't,
can still.
can't
Okay,
do that.
cool, that's right.
Can't do that. God. So I propose to put the motion. All those in favour of the rangatahi group receiving the $15,208.75 as per there, and engage the guest speakers, provide catering, cost of purchase of items for attendees, hire photo booths and purchase t-shirt. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? So we declared the vote carried. Because you didn't speak. What'd you say? Oh, you a no? I got you a no. I didn't hear Martin Rodley say no. Okay. So that is out and completely out now. All right. So the second one is for ATC. Approve $2,755.27.
Just to clarify, does that mean
The whole thing's out.
zero?
Gone.
So does that mean zero?
Zero. So now we go to the ATC group. A marquee for Thames Air training. Yeah, but we took it out. Oh my God. I thought you were going to take it out.
No, that's part of it.
Oh, that's gone too. Okay. Marquee's gone as well. The marquee went because it was apparent in the original motion. I asked for it to be taken out, but it wasn't. I did.
Can you revisit it?
That we pay for the ATCs.
Well, sorry, it's just gone through the Thames Air Train to purchase.
Okay.
That's what I thought we voted on, right?
Seconder?
No, wait. That's what we thought we voted on, right? The 15,280.75. I spelled that out.
What we did is we had this,
Yeah.
then it was moved and
That was
seconded by Rodley and Johnston for the whole lot. And then there was a amendment, the amendment failed, and then we moved back to the original motion, which was 3, 1 and 2.
Okay, well, we can't put an alternative motion up. It's just failed. It's just been voted out. Hey,
Yeah.
it's gone. Sorry, Councillor Rodley, we can't do an alternative motion. That went through and that's it. 3 months' time, you can come back and make a change. 75%. 75% of the people around the table can ask for it to be revisited. So just be aware what we're voting for each time going forward, right?
Is that zero?
That's zero. Okay, invest in a new map sign. Oh, we don't have money for that. Do you want, is that a total you got there?
May I ask,
Okay,
May
does
I ask-
anybody want option 3?
I ask a question of the report writer about option 3?
Yep. Go.
It says twice in there that it's not recommended.
The reason it wasn't recommended is because the budget was only $23,000, and once I'd recommended the focus areas, which were community safety, children and youth, and well,
Tourism.
it wasn't enough. There was only $4,000 left, so this one's 6,130. But it is one of the areas of focus.
But we now have money.
Yep.
So do you want the sign outside the Civic Centre?
Sorry, I'm just going to completely go back here again. I just need to confirm for my voting going forward that we have time for people to put in more opportunities for us to have this discretionary fund.
We'll discuss that when we finish this.
No, but that's going to affect my voting.
Yes, because if we're saying we haven't got time, then we need to be spending them.
Then I'll be spending the money. But if we do have time, I want to go back to the likes of TRAP and go, please put another one in, because I wanted to give them something.
We can't vote again on something you just voted down.
Another meeting before this.
If you turn something down, you
But
can't
Dean-
come back and do it again.
Am I correct in saying that Dean said that there will be time for us to do this again?
Dean is still there.
Dean, please.
Oh, he's unmuted.
Yes, Dean?
Through the chair. Yeah, what I said is you do have another meeting in June. So if you were to receive, a request from another entity, then yes, you could consider that. But obviously, if you expend all of your budget today, then there won't be anything available. I do note, however, on the 1st of July, you'll start again with a fresh budget for the year, and you can review how you approach, the people that might be interested in your area.
So are you saying, Dean, that whether it's next month or after the 1st of July, a group, let's call them Group B, could come back and say, hey, we noticed our thing was turned down. Here's a bit more information, or here's basically the same application put in again, and we would be allowed to vote on that?
Yeah, and so something similar happened with another board recently where they decided to leave something on the table, and they came back again next month and made the same application and were reconsidered.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sorry, Dean Allen, what did you just say then, please? And have you gone into hiding?
Yep.
So
sorry.
what are you suggesting that a motion that's lost at this meeting can be rediscussed in June?
I'd need to confirm that with governance, but given it's discretionary, I don't see why you couldn't revisit a funding application at a future date. So you've turned it down now, or whatever your decision you take today is. There's no reason why an entity couldn't make that same application later. So there is another board that had declined an application but asked them to come back again a month later. And then off the top of my head, I think they just part met their application. But more information was provided in between.
Yeah.
So just through the chair, one comment about the TRAP event. I know it's too late now, but they would need confidence in order to organise the event. I mean, it takes more than 5 weeks to organise all the branding, printing. Yeah. Speakers need to know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm unsure if you put another motion up in the name of TRAP, when you've turned the TRAP down today, I'm unsure whether you could do that. If you're just going back and just changing the amount of money, but it's still your main object was TRAP. I'm sure that's not allowed for in standing orders.
I mean, I guess that would be different if it was like for a policy or for building a new water treatment plant or something. But
Motion's a motion.
But this is an application which can be considered on their merits each
Motion's a motion
time.
on the books. Yeah. Oh, well, you go and see.
I would like
I
to move. I would like
I
to
mean,
move that we have a
I
lunch
feel
break.
I feel for TRAP. I feel that they've been
So do I.
badly let down on this occasion, but I've been asked that we have a break because it's 1:30 and we've gone our 2 hours. So we're obliged to have a break at 1:30. So we'll be back at 2 o'clock, please.